With Totem, game developers can allow players to have an experience that's tied to the assets that they own. And those assets, they can be avatars, equipment, mounts, basically any in-game item that you are used to own in any video game. But now those assets, you can carry them with you into various game experiences. And that means that as a developer, you have a very strong tool to create an experience that's really tied to your players, basically your audience's identities or their virtual identities.
The shared assets are sitting on a blockchain. And the reason we chose the blockchain for that is because blockchains provide you complete ownership, real ownership of assets that are not controlled by anyone else, that are not dependent on the ability of someone else to provide you a service or anything like that. When you own an asset on Totem, you own it completely, just like you own your Bitcoins or Ethereums or whatever cryptocurrency you use or other blockchain-based assets. So the assets that you own are connected, are linked to your identity, are linked to your private keys, and you have complete ownership on them, which means that you can use them in any different game that anyone can provide for them, or you can decide that you want to sell them or gift them to someone else, etc. So in that regard, the blockchain provides us with a platform or with technology that allows both the true ownership of the assets, the transfer of the assets, and the ability to view them and link them to you. So when a game developer comes to create a game, he can create the game, and when you logged into his game, you can see immediately the assets that you own and provide you the experience based on that. Most games in the industry that are based on NFTs are based on a limited amount of NFTs. So there's usually a mint of a limited amount of, let's say, swords. The problem with this model is that while the value is derived from their scarcity, meaning the more people want to buy these, let's say, swords, its price goes up. The problem with that is that it's not sustainable for a long term. In a way, when you use scarcity, the more players you have for your game and the more successful it is, it's less easy to play the game because you have to spend more money to play it. So we looked for a different model that allows the asset that you purchase to have to be attainable no matter how popular the game is. In our model, there's no scarcity. There's only what we call rarity. So you can always buy a sword for a fixed amount or for a certain amount of money, which is stable. There's no change in that. But the value of the item after you purchase it can statistically speaking, it can be a very rare item. So it can be a very powerful item. And the fact that the item is powerful is made from two things. One is a probabilistic outcome that happens when you receive your item. And the second one is the games that actually provide the experiences that implement this rarity into their game. So for example, if you purchased a random sword and it turns out that in a specific game, it's extremely powerful, now this item has more value because it's rare and it's working that game. If there's no game, there's no experiences created for these items, there's no real value in them.
As a game developer, it really makes much more sense to me to have an infinite amount of assets that can be possibly created in the context of the Totem ecosystem, because as a game developer, you want your audience or addressable market to not be limited by the amount of like a fixed amount or a fixed number of some assets that were once minted into a collection. You really want to approach as many people as you can. So in that regard, I think the decision to have an unlimited number of assets makes much more sense to game developers, and specifically indie game developers who want to make their game experience available to as many people as possible, not limited to, say, 1,000 rich people who bought some assets, and not even for the game itself, but more for the speculation, for example. In order for a new asset to be created on the Totem platform, what it requires is a set amount of money to be paid directly to it. So that means as a player, you have to pay, for example, $1 in order to get a spear asset, and then you get a new item that's randomly generated with a few properties and basically infinitely properties, as we explained before. Now, this item is now yours. It is tied directly to your virtual identity. It sits inside your crypto wallet, and you can transfer it to anyone else. You can sell it to someone else. You can put it on a marketplace. You can do whatever you want with those items. And every game developer can decide what they allow you to do with the newly acquired item that you just got, what sort of experience you can have with it. And all of the money that's gathered in the platform is then distributed among the game developers. Totem creates a world where players who already own shared assets can go into your game and play it and get a new experience. If you want to allow players to buy new items directly from your game, you can do that. And there are basically two ways to do it. The first one is to allow them a direct route to pay the platform, to pay the Totem platform, a set amount of money in order to create a new item that will be delivered directly to their crypto wallet and will be owned by them. So this is the first way that you can do it. The second way is that if you as a game developer decide that you want to sell specific items to your players, you need to own them first. So that means you will have to spend some money in order to get a certain amount and a certain number of items, and then maybe sell those items directly to the players through an in-game store. This is an alternative route that you can take, but those two ways are the two main ones that you can use